Hey, what's up? Good afternoon, everybody. What's good? This is Boxingwave. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Smash that like button on your way in. Errol Spence has activated, I was about to say activated his rematch clause. And we're gonna get the rematch between him and Terrence Bud Crawford. All right. No, I didn't see any real details on the fight. I'm sure that everything is gonna play out. They're gonna sit down at the table and work everything out as far as what weight it's gonna be at. I'm sure Bud Crawford is gonna be the A side this time around, so he's gonna make the decisions on how the fight goes as he deserves. And at some point, probably at the end of the year, we're probably gonna get the rematch, probably sometime in December. That's what I'm assuming. All right. I'm gonna wait for a few more people to get in here, and then we're gonna do a quick live, and discuss this. And I'm gonna give you my first thoughts on the fight. I mean, it's not really, it's not really much to talk about. You know what I mean? Like, how do you break this down any differently from what we got in the first fight? You know what I mean? But I am gonna speak on that, and um I'm gonna I still watch the fight from time to time, you know. But give me a minute. I'm gonna let a couple more people join up and get in here. Please hit the thumbs up on your way in. Shout out to everyone that's here. What's up, MR? I seen you. I seen you waiting in the cut. What's up, Pocket? What's good with you? Lawrence, what's happening, man? Geo was good with you. Ace 317 was good. Ace says, I hope the rematch is next year. Spence took too much damage. Yeah, but whether it's next year or December or January or February, I'm not expecting the results to be any different. You know what I mean? Just my opinion. All right. Pocket says, hey, Wave, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you. Lawrence says, it can't get much worse, right? Rematch, LOL. Yeah, it can. It could. It could. But much worse, I don't know. We'll talk about that. Geo says morning wave. Kaloyan, he says evening, man. What's up with you? Good afternoon here. Keanu says salute wave. What's good with you, bro? What's up, Deuce? He says I thought Bud would win, but I'm still shocked at how easy he made it look. Yeah. What are my thoughts on Prince Naseeb's son? I haven't seen him fight, if that's what you're asking me. So I don't know. I can't give you an answer to that. But back to the topic at hand. So I watch the fight every now and then, right? I know the fight wasn't that long ago. I mean, it was in July. I caught myself watching it maybe about a week ago. It might have been like my third or fourth time watching a fight. I remember watching a fight live, and I remember watching it one more time again, maybe within that week. And honestly, it's not a fight I enjoy watching. I mean, as much as I wanted Bud to win, and as much as I wanted Bud to stop him, it's just I still am shocked. Just like Deuce just said, I'm still shocked of how easy it was. You know what I mean? Like, I still watch it. Even when I watched it last week, I still can't believe how easy it was. You know what I mean? It was just too easy. So the little things that I was nitpicking about when I broke the fight down was like, which stance is Bud going to start at? If he starts at a righty, I feel like he's giving Spence a little bit of an advantage. Another thing I said was, Bud is a slow starter at times, so I think Spence is going to start out quicker. He's going to get the early momentum going. The thing is, I didn't think the one thing that I stressed was, or the two, was that I didn't think the size would be a factor at all because people on Team Spence or people that thought he would win kept glorifying the fact that he's a bigger fighter. And I felt like that wasn't going to be a factor at all because I thought that Crawford was probably stronger than him. And the second thing that I feel like none of the breakdown people was bringing up was the fact that Spence don't have any real experience fighting a southpaw. He doesn't. He doesn't have no experience, like damn near none, close to none. You got to go back to Chris Van Heerden and Emmanuel Larte. The Larte fight was 10 years ago. And these guys are not even close on 11. I know Bud didn't fight many southpaws, but I mean, the guy can switch, you know what I mean? And the guy fought better southpaws, the couple that he did. Like, no one was bringing that up. And, I was watching people's shit. Like, I was watching, like, the content creators or even, like, the major podcasts like Teddy Atlas and stuff. I was listening to their breakdown. I'm like, no one's bringing up this key fact here about the southpaw thing. Like, no one was bringing that. Like, people were just, like, ignoring that, a huge key. And I thought it was funny that Bud said after the fight, he was like, I was in the dressing room. He said something online like I was in the dressing room prepping for the fight and trying to decide where I should come out as, where I should, like, he said that he decided that night, like, well, Spence don't really have much experience fighting southpaw, so I came out as a southpaw. As he's like literally the only person that brought that up. And I thought that was like a major key in the fight that people just kind of brush past, yeah, man. RL Juice, you asked, you see $1 million worth of game with Lil Charlo. Gilly said if the ref ain't stopped the fight, Earl would have kept coming for Bud and it would have been scary. LMA laughing my ass off. Spence almost got put out the ring. I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched like the good first half. I don't remember him saying that part. But I watched like the first half hour of it, and I really like Gilly and Wallow. You know what I mean? I think their message in the beginning of the video, especially Wallow, because of the message he was saying, like he's trying to. I know it comes off like they're trying to stir the pot with some of these fighters, like with the text between him and Bud and about Jaron Ennis and all that. I like the message of what he was saying is that he's trying to get, more people talking about them. You know what I mean? Trying to get the buzz. He's trying to push the buzz between these fighters. I like it. I don't feel like when being that these guys are fighters, I don't feel like they have to be friendly. Like I have no problem. Like I told you guys yesterday, I had no problem with Haney and Devin Haney going Haney and Shakur Stevenson going back and forth. Now once you start talking the street stuff, I think it gets corny at that point because now it's like, all right, you know what I mean? Like all that street talk, like we don't want to hear that. Like we know you from boxing. We don't know you from being in the streets. You know what I mean? We don't care about that. But I like that message, and there was some key things that Jamel did say in that interview that I can't remember because I should have did a video right after watching it, but I didn't watch the whole thing. So I didn't bother bringing it up because I wanted to watch the full interview. I haven't had time to go back to it. You know what I mean? But I like what Gilly and Wallow is doing. I know they're not, I know Gil has some sort of experience in boxing. You know what I mean? And they got a popular hip hop podcast. They're top 5 podcasts. So I think it's good that they bring the fighters to their platform. They brought Devin Haney there. They brought Shakur Stevenson. They brought Adrian Broner. They brought Bud Crawford, Errol Spence, Jamel Charlo. You know what I mean? They haven't had Boots up there. I don't think they had them, but I like what they're doing. You know what I mean? But going back to the topic, Gilly thought Errol would win. You know what I mean? So I'm not really You know, whatever he's saying about Errol and him coming back and all that, it's whatever. You know what I mean? I think. All right, let's have a real moment for a second. I think certain people on social media had so much impact on this fight in a way, in a positive way, because they build up the fight. They help build up the fight, like certain channels, bigger channels. I think they had a lot of influence on how people felt the fight was going to go. You know, I think when you hear, if you go, and I know this from I'll speak from a personal standpoint. I know people that are real boxers, real fighters, right? That are connected to a lot of these guys. And what happens is, even though with their own experience and their own knowledge, they click on YouTube, right? Real fighters, and they listen to the video because even if the video is nonsense, they care about the favoritism. You know what I mean? It's like they immediately become delusional. Like all key factors get thrown out the window once it becomes a part about who they want to win. They don't know how to separate logic with their feelings at all. And most people, all people are going to have bias in something. But when it came to Errol Spence, I think the shock to a lot of these people that really like are delusional about what they saw that night, the shock comes from the fact that they were being told by so many people that's on the internet, like myself, that Spence was too big, Spence was too fundamentally sound. You know what I mean? That Spence fought the harder fighters, or he fought the fighters when they were in their prime. They bought into it. And even fighters, real fighters, the thing about real fighters, and the thing I noticed about like being on this platform and doing these breakdowns, the thing about real fighters is that they don't really study the fights like that. You know, they get in the gym and get busy. They're not on here like looking at all this technical stuff when they're watching fights. When they do watch boxing, because a lot of them don't really watch it all the time, but when they actually sit down and watch it, they're just watching it for the enjoyment of it. You know what I mean? Just off the satisfaction and entertainment off of it. They're not really like trying to study what is going on in the ring. So even though these guys are knowledgeable and experienced, let me say experience, they're not looking at the facts. They don't know these guys' resumes like that. They don't know how this fighter looked 3 fights ago against a fighter with a similar style. They don't know all of that stuff. They don't sit down and study. They don't really do it. So when they go on YouTube and they watch some bozo on here that's talking like, yo, this guy is this and this guy is that, and this guy, Terrence Bud Crawford, they was shitting on Crawford. They was making it look like Crawford was fighting a bunch of bums his whole career. And people that actually have real experience in boxing was believing the hype. They were believing the hype behind it. It wasn't true, but they don't have the time to sit down, turn on a TV or go on the internet and watch fights over and over again. You know what I mean? So they'll click on YouTube and watch some dummy just tell you some bullshit. And if it's because if you like Spence a little bit more, you're gonna believe that person. Yo, when Spence and Crawford was coming up like weeks before, I don't follow a lot of YouTube. I'm not subscribed to a lot of YouTube boxing channels. I'm not anymore. You know, back in the day when there wasn't as many, I used to subscribe to a lot of them. But now I don't watch a lot of channels no more. Even on some of my favorite ones, I rarely watch. I watch car channels all day. Car channels, I love. I watch channels with drag racing and shit. I watch that every day religiously. I watch YouTube when I'm watching. I'm looking for a fight to study. I don't listen to boxing content creators like that. But leading up to Spence and Crawford, the hype was so big that every time I went into YouTube, I would see these channels like myself that's doing what I'm doing. I've never heard of them, right? But they have like followings too. And some of them were super pro Spence. But when I looked at their content, I'll watch one video and then I'm like, all right, I'll watch a couple of minutes of their video. And then I'll look at their content or like exactly what they've made. And the last 25 or so videos they made was about Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence. They have no other content. So at this point, you got to look at this channel and say, you know what? These guys are just hustling. They're not even like, they're not really trying to educate you on anything. They're just on here just trying to get the bag. And they're going to tell you what you want to, they know you want to hear. You know what I mean? And it's a joke. And that's what happened with Spence. So now when you hear guys making excuses, oh, Spence got hit in the back of the head, or Spence, he should have fought him at 154, or Spence is not looking the same. All these guys, I saw one channel on here. I don't know who the channel is, but it was Coach Malachi, right? He posted a video of some other channel that was going in on Spence, some super pro Spence channel, but he was dissing the shit out of him after he lost. And I was like, damn, like, that's crazy, because these guys, they not really here for they don't love the sport. They're not here for the sport, man. You know what I mean? They just, it's hustling, yo. You can make a lot of money on this YouTube thing, especially if you're actively posting content, 2-3 videos a day. Oh man. I was like, yo, this is crazy. These dudes are just hustling. Same thing when Wilder and the Fury situation was going down. Yo, you got all these channels that's non boxing channels that just came out the woodworks. They just showed up. They just popped up. And I'm like, you go to look at what their content is about, and it's about everything else but boxing. Anything that will get people to click. And that's the problem on why people are reacting the way they are, because they're still shocked. They feel like something was wrong. Something is wrong with Spence. Nothing was wrong with Spence. Spence looked like Spence. Spence was looking like himself in the first round, even in the second. But once Bud started picking him apart, he didn't look the same. You know what I learned about this fight? If anything, if I learned anything, I learned a lot about Bud. He answered a lot of questions that I always had about him. And the biggest question of them all, I said, and you guys heard me say this before. What does Bud Crawford look like when he comes into a fight 100% in kill mode? Like, I'm not starting slow. I'm not, like, let's just say Bud comes in 100% as if, you know, concerned that he might lose a fight. You know what I mean? Like, no playing around, no switching, no nothing. Because he's clearly, I know he switches, and I know, you know, he could go righty and all that and fight orthodox. I think he's clearly a better southpaw to me. All right. He's clearly a better southpaw, but he can fight as a righty very good. You know what I mean? He can comfortably fight as an orthodox fighter, but he's clearly a southpaw fighter. He finishes his fights as a southpaw. You know what I mean? He don't finishes his fights at an orthodox as an orthodox fighter. You never seen him switch from southpaw and go to righty and stay in that position for the remainder of the fight. If he's struggling a little bit, he's gonna switch. Gamboa, you know, that's a great example, because I think Gamboa might have got the first 3 rounds. You know what I mean? But what I learned about Bud is like there's levels, and he's never been in a position where he had to fight at his very best from the opening bell. He's always had these fights where they were tricky the first couple rounds, the 2, 3 rounds, even the fourth round or so. You know what I mean? Even when I look at fights like uh let me pull up his resume real quick. You know, there's always these fights where like the first couple of rounds he's given away. And we always said that he's just trying to learn his opponent. And that's true. You know, but there's even fights where like the Tomas Delorme fight, right? Like, he stopped him in 6 rounds, but I remember watching that fight, and I remember Delorme was doing all right the first couple of rounds. You know what I mean? He was doing all right. Like, I felt like Delorme might have won the first couple rounds, maybe 2 or 3 rounds. You know, and then you had Gamboa won like the first 3 rounds. Uh, you had Jose Benavidez that was winning rounds throughout the fight, giving him some trouble. His counters were good. You know what I mean? You had the Velasquez fight. You know, Velasquez was doing really good. Hurt him in that fourth round or so, whatever round that was. Kell Brook, won the first couple rounds, even gave him a little swelling here. Sean Porter did well. There's a lot of these fighters, it took the best fighter in his resume by far for him to completely dismantle. He beat Errol Spence worse than any other fighter he's fought. And Errol Spence was by far the best fighter he's fought. You know? Deuce is right. I think I wanted to tweet this one day. I was like, Crawford is Goku. Because Goku comes out in his weakest form and he just want to build up. Like, the dude is super stronger than him, but he want to build himself up to his level slowly. He wants to get beat up a little bit before he gets there. You know what I mean? Is it confirmed? I don't know. I think majority of the reports I read are coming from good sources. So, if it's not confirmed and it's not true, then it's not true. Um, I saw it from Michael Benson's Twitter account. He's pretty reliable, like 95% of the time. I originally saw it on Boxing News 24. When I saw it yesterday, I was like, nah, I'm gonna wait. Let me get a little bit more. I don't think they're really reliable, so I don't really stick with them. And I seen on a few more sources, but yeah. All right, so let's talk about the rematch. Let's talk about the actual rematch now. What can Spence do? I was thinking about that before I start this live. I'm like, what can Spence do? You know what I mean? Like, what can he really do? Leave comments. What can he do in this fight that's within the realm of what his capabilities are? You know what I mean? And that's the key thing. What can he do that's within his actual capabilities or what we've seen from him? Because I brought up the southpaw thing earlier, right? So now you got 3 southpaws in your resume. You got 2 like little league southpaws that you beat, right? And then you have 1 major league World Series boxer that's a southpaw that dominated you already. So what do you do in this fight to be better? Because all these weight guys, all these strength guys, all these power guys, all these resume guys, welterweight guys, all this stuff that was said before that is thrown out the window now. It's already been proven. The fight wasn't close. So what can Spence do within the realm of his capabilities. And when I say that, I keep repeating is this does not say something that we know he's not capable of doing. Like, don't be that guy to just come in here and make him do something that we've never seen him do before. You know what I mean? Because all of the people that kept bringing up fundamentally sound, yes, Spence is. He displays it every fight because he doesn't have the abilities of Crawford. Crawford can do everything that Spence can do. Spence can't do everything that Crawford to do. So people were making it seem like, even Derrick James was making it seem like Crawford was just being flashy and he lacks fundamentals. No, he doesn't lack fundamentals. He's giving you the fundamentals, but he's giving you the crazy athleticism stuff too. He's giving you a little bit of both. You know what I mean? So it's not like when people brought that up, yes, Spence is fundamentally sound based on his capabilities. Like, he sticks to the basics. What happens when you fight a fighter that knows how to fight all of the guys that stick to the basis? I said this about Deontay Wilder a long time ago after Luis Ortiz, the first fight. I said this a long time ago. What I said was Wilder keeps winning these fights because even though he's not fundamentally sound, he's actually fundamentally flawed, unlike Crawford. But Wilder is fundamentally flawed, but his athleticism and his power and his ability to read what these fundamentally sound fighters are doing, it makes him dangerous because he knows what you're going to do. He knows exactly what you're going to do. So when we say that, his feet placement and, his positioning and his balance and all the certain punches he throws from certain angles, he's off. When we say that stuff, yes, it's true. But the man know what he's doing. You got to give him that credit because he wouldn't have won some of the fights he won, or he wouldn't have been as competitive with Tyson Fury if he didn't know what he was doing. You know what I mean? You don't knock Fury down that many times, 4 times in three fights, and not know what you're doing. You're not a bum. Because if you still call him a bum, what does that make Fury? Even though Fury won, Fury had to go through hell to win those fights. Not the second for one, but the first and third. All right. Let me read some of the comments before I continue. All right. We're gonna start with Imani says nothing. Brendan says Crawford's speed is too much for Spence. E-Class says, what's up, Wade? What's up, E-Class? What's good, you? Dude says, commit to the body more. He didn't do that enough. Okay. Crawford 5-7 this time. More upcuts, 0 tolerance, in my opinion. Yeah. Sayable. Arrow needs to catch lightning in a battle, train harder, and pray for a lucky one-punch KO. Okay. Bond servant says, try to be lighter on his feet. Trying to do that is hard when you are just not light on your feet. The lightest I've seen Spence on his feet is in a Porter fight. And he had balance issues because of it. The way he moved and some of those step back counters, you can see that his feet wasn't as quick as his mind and what he was trying to do. You know what I mean? John says, don't want the rematch. Prefer Crawford against new opposition. Crawford's not getting any younger. So let's see all the fights. No, I don't want the rematch. I don't think many of us want the rematch. We're getting a rematch because that's what they agreed on, and I'm saying. And when it comes to Spence, he wants it for himself, and I'm going to speak more on that too. Lastly, Spence is doing this fight for him. He's not doing it for the people and what we think and stuff. It's another bag. It's another opportunity for him to redeem himself. It doesn't matter the way he got stopped. We got to think like a fighter here. And a fighter in him is going to want to do it again. He's not going to want to go out like that. He's going to want to at least try, even though it's going to risk him getting knocked out again, and maybe even worse this time. He's not thinking like that. Deuce says Arrow's power is overrated. Buzz says something I've been saying for years. Arrow's pressure and volume fire. He's not a concussive puncher. Yeah, and I've been saying it as well. I don't think I think Charlo's a concussive puncher. I think Bud has proven to be a bigger puncher, with those 10 or 11 knockouts leading up to this fight. You know what I mean? I know people were saying that the guys he fought weren't that good or they were washed up, but Crawford has more devastating knockouts. His knockouts are more devastating than Spence. Shane says, "What's up, Wade? What's up with you?" RL Juice says he needs a gun, literally a gun. Spence is not going to learn to move his head. Santiago says Spence is not going to learn to move his head off the line in one training camp. No, he's not. He's not. He's not. And he's not going to, you know what? And not only that, but he's not going to learn how to not lead in and lunge in with those straight left hands. He's been doing it his whole career. It's just no one has capitalized off of the issues that he's had. And this is what I mean by the realm of what he's capable of doing, because he's had success with everything he's been doing. Mr. Fundamentally Sound has fought the same way all the way up to this point. He didn't have nobody that was able to just push him off from him. Sean Porter was the closest. Sean Porter gave him a good fight. Sean Porter gave him a really good fight. Kell Brook gave him a good fight for the first 6 rounds. But Sean Porter gave Spence a really good fight. And that was another angle I was looking at. I was like, man, when I watch Porter and Spence, I'm like, these guys, Spence won the fight, but they're at the same level to me. That's what I got out of that fight with Sean. Spence won in my eyes, but Spence proved to me that he's on Sean Porter's level. They're on the same level to me. When I looked at the Crawford fight, it looked like a glorified sparring match until Bud said, "I don't want to spar no more." It looked like a fight between friends. It looked like 2 friends slap boxing each other until one of the friends hit him accidentally with a real shot. And then Bud said, "Oh, now I got to knock you out." For a man to sit in his corner and say, "Hey, you down on points," and the guy like, "What? Who? What?" And just to go in there and knock him out like the way he did, it just made me like, I don't know how good this guy really is. Every time I think he's great, he makes it seem like he's just playing. Like, when are you going to fight for real in a real fight? That was the one question I had going to the Spence fight. When is this guy going to turn up all the way up? Like, for real. Not playing. Not doing the Goku thing we were talking about. When are you going to fight at Ultra Instinct in round 1? Give me that. Give me Ultra Instinct in round 1, bro. Don't give me the Kaioken and the Super Saiyan 1. I don't want to see that shit. Give me Ultra Instinct in round 1. You know what I mean? For you Dragon Ball heads in here. Don't give me that other stuff. And that's what we got. And I've been waiting for that forever. I don't know what Spence can do. I seen Boxing Beats and Rise tweet this today. I seen this like a couple hours ago. Boxing Beats and Rhyme says, maybe Crawford should fight in this fight orthodox and make it more even. Now, as funny as I think it is, I think that would be pretty dumb for Crawford to do. I mean, what you don't want to do is underestimate your opponent. You know what I mean? So if you win in that fight thinking that fighting as a southpaw because of his lack of experience against southpaws was the way to go, and you went in there and proved that and it worked for you and you dominated, why would you want to change anything? You know what I mean? You only time you want to change the game plan is if you have to adjust because what you did before isn't working now. So you wouldn't want to change what worked for you in the first fight. Because even though you won and you won pretty easily, you don't want to go in there like, all right, this guy's a bum. Like, you don't want to go in there, I already beat you, so I'm gonna just do it again. You don't want to go in that fight. You got to go in that fight motivated because the thing with Spence, we don't know what Spence is coming with this time. Even though we think we do, and I have Spence getting stopped again, you don't want to underestimate your opponent. You know what I mean? A lot of fighters have lost because they underestimated their opponent or they played too much into the hype. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what happened with Canelo. I was talking about this yesterday. I think a lot of people are just saying that he's past it because he's boxed for 18 years and all that. And I think no, I think he fell a little bit into his own hype. That run through 168 gassed him up a little bit too much. Started him thinking that he can beat guys that's way bigger than him. You forgot the guys that you was beating were already bigger than you. But now you taking it too far, bro. And he fought Bevo, and I fell into it too. I ain't gonna lie. I predicted Canelo to win a controversial decision. I thought that Bevo was gonna give him a fight, possibly win to most people's eyes, but not close enough to where he would win on the cards. And Bevo did it clearly. I only gave Canelo 3 rounds. Only 3 rounds. And he hasn't looked great since. So you don't want to underestimate your opponent. Even though you already beaten him, you want to go and you want to train and prepare the same way. So there's 2 things I'm a little it's the orthodox thing is one thing I thought about too. I think the second thing was the weight. Now, if Crawford was like Floyd, or he was like someone that wants the advantage with every fight that they have, Crawford could do some real foul shit and say, nah, I want to have the rematch at 147. Now, we know that he's looking to move up anyway, so he's going to probably move up at 154. But if he was real petty, he could be like, nah, you're going to fight at 147 again. If you want to have this rematch with me, we're going to do it my way, and I don't want to fight you at 154. Now, I know that's not going to happen because I don't think Crawford is that kind of guy, and I think he wants to move up anyway for himself. But he could do that, and he'd be well within his rights to do it if he were to do that, if he had any interest in wanting to stay at 147 for the rematch. But it's not going to happen because he is looking to fight at 168 against the winner of Charlo and Canelo. So just to somewhat prepare, he should be fighting at a higher weight. And he would want to, Bud strikes me as a guy that he would want to quiet the naysayers even further by doing it at the preferred weight for Errol Spence. But that preferred weight for Errol Spence is actually the preferred weight for Bud Crawford too, because many of you before the fight, not after the fight, but a lot of these Spence supporters were saying that Bud looked like he was drained before the fight. I've seen that too. Let's not forget, because everybody's going to forget shit now that the fight is over. A lot of people were saying Bud looked drained before the fight. A lot of these fighters look drained before the fight and look great on fight night. Devin Haney looked drained more than anyone. I mean, the guy looks sick getting in the ring with or at the weigh-in or the week off the Camboso's first fight. And then on fight night, he looked great. You know, did his thing. What's up, Maker? What's up with you? Gorga. Oh, excuse me. Gorgaruga says, I think Spence has to fight on the back foot, try to turn counter punching if he can. He already tried the aggressive approach and it felt big. I don't think Spence is that guy, you know. I think he can counter, but I think he's limited as a counter puncher, and I think he's too slow. I don't think that's gonna work neither, man. You know, and I feel like he tried to go to the body a little bit. I think Deuce said something about going to the body. I think a lot of those shots were stuffed and blocked and smothered by Crawford, you know, or Crawford pushed them away. You know, the thing with Spence, and another problem I didn't even bring up yet, is the movement of Crawford. That's another thing that I brought up. You know, Spence body punches were great with a fire like Ocampo. You know, when you look at the Ocampo fight, what is Ocampo doing? He's standing in the pocket with Spence. You know what I mean? Like by the time Spence's get to the Algiers and the Leonard Bandus and the Kell Brooks and, you know, all of these fighters that he gets to, and Ugas, especially Yordenis Ugas, these guys are not moving anywhere, bro. They're either moving early like Algieri, and you know, once Spence breaks them down enough to where they're less mobile and he has them against the ropes or he has them in the corner, they ain't gonna work. You know, Ocampo was the crazy guy that stood in there and went back and forth with him. That was crazy. What's up, Jeff? Thank you for donating, brother. Appreciate it. Yeah, like Crawford, when it comes to the body punches and going to the body, you're not. It's easier said than done, you know, because you got to worry about the counters that Bud is hitting you with, and Bud punches hard. You know what I mean? Spence doesn't move his head. Spence lunges. Spence is slower. He's predictable. He's flat-footed. And it was very easy for Bud to have his way. That's why it doesn't matter if the fight is at 147, 154, 160. It doesn't matter where this fight takes place because at the end of the day, Crawford is not that much smaller than Spence. That's the reality. That's the reality of it. I told you this a long time ago when he fought Jeff Horn. Video is probably still up. Even if I didn't say it in that video, but I said it at some point. The way I seen Crawford in his first fight as a welterweight manhandle a physical Jeff Horn, dirty tactics and all. E-Class, thank you for donating. He says, will Spence ever be unified again in your honest opinion? No, because it doesn't get any easier from here. It doesn't get any easier, especially when you get beat up like that. And now fighters know exactly what to do. You know, these guys at 154 are bigger and stronger. They're bigger and stronger. You know what I mean? I said in the Jeff Horn fight, the one thing I was shocked at Crawford beating him wasn't a shock. All right. That wasn't a shock. It was the way Crawford manhandled him, meaning picking him up and turning him sometimes. His strength is underrated. Why do you guys, when I saw him doing a deadlift, I was like, oh, nah, this guy's too strong. I knew he grew up wrestling. He got his son wrestling. You know what I mean? I just was like, I knew at that point that Jeff, for the very first welterweight fight, I said, this guy is stronger than he's being advertised. He's being advertised as this small little guy because he came up from 135. You know, it's crazy because of same people that say he was too small also said that he was a weight bully at 135 and 140. I'm sure you guys heard that shit too. Yep, Dude said it. Dude said it. What's up, Charles? Charles Edward Cheese is in the building, my guy. Thank you for your donation yesterday, dude. I saw it yesterday too. Thank you. Good looking. Dude says Bud picked up and moved Porter like that. Yes, he did. And remember, Porter at some point used to be the most physical fighter at welterweight by far. You know, and Crawford just moved these guys like it's nothing. Second round, just push Spence off. We talking about going to the body. How you going to go to the body? A guy that can just move you. Like, yo, what are you doing? Get off me. What do you do? He's more skilled than you, and he's bullying you. He's moving you around. He's pushing you off. What are you going to do? Got to go in there with a gun. Like this guy, one of you guys said earlier. Bonsari asked, do you think Thurman would give Spence problems because he moved well and had a good timing? Thurman moves well. He has good timing. He is fast, and he's pretty explosive. Yeah. Thurman's not southpaw. Thurman is very weak to the body. I don't think it's a good stylistic matchup for Thurman. You know, and I've said this for years now. I've said this when Thurman became unified and beat Danny Garcia. You know, I've been saying this for years. I never thought Thurman Spence was a good stylistic matchup for Keith Thurman. You know, there's two people I thought specifically I thought were bad matchups for Keith Thurman. And that was Errol Spence Jr. and Prime Kell Brook. I thought Kell Brook would have beaten Keith Thurman. I've said this since the last 10 years since I've had a channel. I thought Kell Brook was always going to win that fight if they ever were to fight. And I think Thurman, too weak to the body. It's been exposed too many fights. He gets hurt to the body in almost every fight now. You know what I mean? He's been for quite some time. Good boxer, good mover, but he doesn't move like Bud. You know what I mean? Bud is smoother with it. Bud is stronger, more durable. And I think Bud even hits harder than Keith Thurman because as much of a KO artist Thurman was, when he was a prospect coming up, you know, before he was a champion, when he fought top contenders, when he got to a point when he started fighting top contenders, those KOs stopped. He wasn't knocking out anybody anymore. You know what I mean? He wasn't knocking out guys at the elite level where Terrence Crawford has been at the elite level still. In fact, he looks better as he improves in challenges where Keith Thurman has these, you know, I said something about Sean Porter being on a level of Spence. Well, Keith Thurman is on a level of Porter and Danny. You know what I mean? Danny's fight was razor sharp close, man. It was super close. I went to that fight. It was super close. These guys are on the same level, man. Bud is one level above them. He's like at the God tier. Whereas these guys are elite and he's at the God tier of current generation fighters. Inoue is at a God tier. Certain guys are they're smaller fighters that are beating bigger guys that are the best in their division. These guys are on a different tier. Whereas when you're a top tier in your division, there's like that one guy. There's a few guys. There's only like 4 or 5 guys in a game that's like on a different tier. And Bud is one of those guys. You know what I mean? Charles says all he can do is be healthier and do the same thing. Big step for real this time. If he gets beat like that again, he should have retired someone in the Triple G. I think if Errol gets beat like that again, he's going to retire. I said after the first fight, I said that I don't think he should retire. But I think if he takes another beating like that, I think it's time to retire. Because now you're going to get beat by guys that wouldn't have beaten you at one point. I said this about somebody recently. But now you're going to be fooled. They're going to be coming for you now. They're going to look at, even if they can't do exactly what Bud is capable of doing, they're going to focus on those weaknesses and those flaws they saw you in your loss. And that's what happens to these fighters. They start to exploit exactly what did you in those losses you got. That's the one thing about being undefeated and not having like a really tough fight, because nobody knows what your flaws are until after that first fighter you lost to, or the first fighter that gave you a really close, tough fight. You know what I mean? Some of these guys look dominant until a guy, even if they in defeat, if somebody can expose some of your flaws, the next fighter is going to be looking to do what they saw in the last fight. You know what I mean? It is what it is. It seems like once Keith Thurman got hit to the body by Louis Collazo, and Collazo was running and chasing him around the ring, everybody was doing it. Josecito Lopez, Manny Pacquiao, Mario Barrios. All these guys are chasing him around the ring, hitting him to the body. And then Thurman, when he gets hit to the body, what does he do? Retreat. He damn near runs out the ring. He doesn't even tie up. Dude's tie-up game is trash. This is another reason why Spence destroys him. Spence will still destroy him. No matter how many times he loses to Bud, he will still destroy him. Because Spence is going to work that body, and Chief ain't going to have no defense to it. He does not tie up. It's one of his major flaws. I meant to say that earlier. Once Louis Collazo did it, everybody started going to this body. If you're fighting Keith Thurman, that's all you got to do. Go to his body. You know what I mean? Ralph says Keith looks like a wounded Bambi when he hurt to the body. Yeah, man. And you just want to run. You don't want to tie up at all. You know? Jeff, thanks again. He says, Wade, can you think of any perceived 50-50 fights in the last 20, 30 years that look like Spence versus Crawford won? 50-50? Nah. I mean, when we say a fight is 50-50, I guess it was 50-50. It was 50-50, but you know, we get predictions wrong. See, I'm thinking of fights, but I'm thinking of upsets more so. So I keep thinking of upsets. Floyd versus Corrales is a good one. Oh, no, you guys are bringing up someone. Oh, no, you guys are bringing up some good ones. These are all good. Jamal Charlo versus J-Rock was a 50-50. And you know what? J-Rock was outboxing Charlo. It's just that Charlo was hurting J-Rock. You know what I mean? Lacey versus Calzaghe was disaster. That was a fight that was like this. Oh man. What the hell? I saw that fight live, right? No, Joshua and Ruiz was an upset. That wasn't no 50-50. Floyd and Corrales, yeah, that's a good one. Tyson and Wilder too was, oh yeah. I think Wilder and Tyson Fury, as shocking as this fight was, and you guys got the video, you guys saw the reaction of mine. I think in the 10 years that I've been doing boxing, I still think Tyson and Wilder too was the most shocking outcome that I've seen in the past 10 years. It was to me in the past 10 years. Yeah. Hurd versus J Rock was what? What? But that was an upset though. That wasn't no 50-50, man. You guys are naming like upsets. Joshua getting stopped by Ruiz in New York was an upset, man. Roy Jones versus Tarver 2 was like that wasn't I mean, the first fight was close, and I think Tarver probably edged it, and Roy got a gift that night. But yeah, Cool Boy and Monster is up there too, man. I mean, Monster, like, Inoue toyed with him. He toyed with him. He was playing. He was playing with him. And Cool Boy was his biggest test. It's the same situation. Now, Cool Boy wasn't as proven as Errol Spence was going in that fight, though. But he was proven. He was very proven. But Errol Spence leading up to that fight was like the guy. Like a lot of people had him in their top five for years. You know what I mean? So that's different. I still think Roy Jones and Tarver too, even though the first fight was close. I don't feel like the second fight was 50-50 going in fight. Now, I was younger at that time, so I'm just basing it off what I felt at that time. You know, I was very young at that time. So um B Hop and Kelly Pavlik was good. All right, so B Hop and Kelly Pavlik was a 50-50. So this is a great example because I feel like this fight was actually a real 50-50 going into the fight. And then it ended up being a disastrous one-sided fight. You know what I mean? Yeah, but you guys got some good ones here. I think the really good ones you guys got is Charlo against J Rock, 50-50, end up dominant fashion. But no, it wasn't dominant. It was the knockout. All right. I think Lacey and Kozagi is probably the best. You know, Floyd against Corrales is probably one of the best too. Wilder and Fury is definitely one of the best in the past 10 years, probably in my opinion. I think that takes the cake even more so than Spence and Crawford. Because I was very, very confident in Crawford winning, you know, and I think a lot of people were. I just think that many of us wanted to be as fair and impartial as possible. You know what I mean? Um, but I stamped the knockout for a while now. You know, I think the knockout was the way to go. What's up, Young Hollywood? What's good with you, man? Mosley Margarito again. That wasn't a 50-50 fight. I think going into the fight, I think Margarito was the clear favorite to win, as he should. You know, Mosley had already lost to Cotto, and you know, I felt like he was clearly outside of his prime, and Margarito had a lot of momentum at the time. And you know, I mean, after his loaded gloves was taken out, it was pretty much a wrap for him, man. He got exposed. He got exposed. You know what I mean? Um, nah, I'm not gonna be drinking that much this weekend, man. I know it's Labor Day. To be honest, I don't get into the whole West Indian joint. You know what I mean? I might hit up a barbecue or two, but I'm not getting crazy. I'm just gonna just probably go out, hit a couple events, but I ain't getting crazy. I don't get crazy on like the Labor Day holiday like that. You know what I mean? Um, yeah. So all right, guys, I gotta get out of here. We're gonna talk more about this fight uh on in the upcoming weeks. All right. Um, but I just wanted to kick it off, give you my thoughts on the fight. I don't think Spence really can do anything. I just don't think he's capable of being Crawford. I just think that Crawford is better in just about every way. I think with Spence overall, I think the only thing he can be is be a little bit more durable because he's going to be fighting at a preferred weight. He don't have to cut an extra 7 pounds, so that would be good for him. But as far as like the matchup itself, the styles, the fight, the actual fight, I don't think he beats Crawford. I think maybe he possibly might last longer, but I think he might even get stopped earlier. But as far as strategically, though, I don't think so. And you know what? I want to add too, and I'm going to end this with this. I don't like the way Derrick James has taken this loss. Like some of the things he said, it makes me feel like he doesn't believe what he saw. He himself. I was talking about content creators earlier and stuff, but just based on some of the things he said in certain interviews and stuff like that, you know, I think he needs to understand that things have to be different. This camp needs to be different, and I don't think Errol can learn that much in camp, but we've never seen Errol Spence bounce back from a loss before. So this will be our first time seeing it. And it wasn't just a loss, it was a dominant stoppage loss. So we never seen him in this space before. So we basically gotta have to learn to see how Spence is gonna look in this fight. And I honestly don't think it's gonna be enough. I think no matter what, is nothing I've seen in any fight that made me feel like Crawford or Spence has anything for Crawford. Because you got to remember, Crawford won this fight with very little adjustments made. He didn't have to make any adjustments. He just beat him up. You know what I mean? If the fight is a little bit more competitive, Crawford can make the adjustments. And he's very adaptable. And that's part of the reason why many of us picked him to win. You know what I mean? He adapts to his opponents. He doesn't just come in and fight the same way with everybody. So Spence is very talented, but he always only had a plan A, where Crawford has a plan A, a B, a C, a D. You know what I mean? He can fight any kind of way. So I have Spence losing. And, I don't want to see the rematch, but I understand it. You know what I mean? All right. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here, guys. Please, again, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for everyone that donated. Please hit the thumbs up as well if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys. Everybody hit the thumbs up, man. Let's get these thumbs. Like, we should have at least 100 likes, man. But I'm out of here. Y'all have a good one. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.